I'm definitely cutting all of that out. Hello, and welcome to the Kayla Crafts Podcast. My name is Kayla, and this is a podcast about my journey through crafting. It's probably mostly going to stick with fiber-related crafts, like knitting, maybe some crocheting, definitely some yarn dyeing, some sewing, and other sorts of crafts that might suit my fancy at the moment. This is my second episode, so thank you to anyone who watched my first episode and decided to check me out again. I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate anyone who watched the podcast, liked the podcast, subscribed. It means the world to me. I definitely thought my mom and my sister would be the only ones to watch, but that was not the case, thankfully. And so I am back again with a second episode, and hopefully back with so much more. So thank you once again. I can't even fully express in words how happy that makes me that people actually paid attention to what I had to say. You can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Kayla Crafts, and also on Ravelry at Kayla Crafts, as Kayla Crafts. If you need to send me an email, my email is kaylacraftspodcast@gmail.com in case you have any questions for me. You can reach me there. That would be easiest. This is probably going to be a little bit of a short episode. I mean, it's already short to begin with. I don't have too much knitting and stuff to show. It's been a bit of a strange week, 2 weeks. My son right now is kind of teething, I guess, again. He's got some molars coming in, and so he's been extra clingy, and it's been making it extra difficult to do any kind of crafting, any kind of anything, other than just sitting on the couch with him and watching Tumble Leaf all day. He's also gotten to the point where he recognizes that I'm knitting and doesn't want me to do it, like, whatsoever. If he sees me knitting, it's, "Mommy, hold me, hold me, hold me," and he does it purposely, so that I will stop knitting and I'll just hold him, because he could be completely content playing on the floor with his blocks, and the second he sees me pick up my knitting needles, it's, "Mommy, mommy, hold me." So it's made trying to complete some things slightly difficult. I do have 2 finished objects to talk about and 1 work in progress. And basically one that I'm going to be starting as soon as I'm done with this, because I really wanted to show the yarn that I dyed for it before I got started to you guys. So it's going to be a quick episode. I might as well get started with my finished objects. This first one is super special to me and exciting. This is my finished Free Your Fade shawl by Andrea Mowry. So here it is. It is glorious, you guys. It is wonderful, super long, ta-da, like this. And it is so nice and cozy and lightweight, and I'm so glad that this was the pattern that I decided to go with, because I've already worn it so many times, and it is so comfortable and cozy, and I love wearing it, and I love the colors. It turned out great. I just can't even. I sound like my sister. My younger sister. Gina and I have also another sister who is in the Army. Her name is Trisha. She's a super duper paratrooper, and I'm sure you'll hear tons more about her later on in later episodes. But hi Trisha, thanks for watching, because I know you are watching. Let me talk to you again about the yarn I used for this. For the first color, I used the Truffle Shuffle colorway by Wool and Boom. Super nice and creamy color with lots of fun speckling throughout. The next color that I used is my absolute favorite. It is Tuscan Sunset by Machete Shop. This color is so awesome. It has purples and pinks and golds, and I love this color so much, and I want all the things in this color. I actually really want to get like a sweater's quantity's worth of this color, because wouldn't this make the most fantastic sweater? Wouldn't it? It would. I think I need to do this as a sweater for myself. And the last color that I used in this shawl was Copper Boom by Woolen Boon as well. And this color is awesome. It is the most perfect copper colorway. And I love this shawl. I love the rose gold feel that I get from it. And it's so, so nice and cozy and snuggly without being too hot. Which is important for me because I get overheated a lot. This also has a pretty awesome bind off. I don't know if you can check it out or see a little bit more clearly. This is, and I'm totally gonna butcher this because I butcher every single name. I apologize. Is this the Picot bind off? Picot bind off. So it gives these little like jaggedy edges. It is pretty neat, and it gives this shawl just an awesome effect with the bind off, and I definitely want to try doing this bind off again. It wasn't too difficult, so I'm definitely moving up in my techniques, which is what I wanted. Definitely, this is the podcast about me having tried new things and succeeding, actually, which is good. It's very, very, very encouraging for myself to have tried a couple of new things with my finished objects, and it actually worked out. So you can see that here. This shawl is wonderful, and I probably just messed up my hair. So there it is on me. Like I said, I've already worn it a couple of times. I actually still need to take like official pictures of the shawl. I'm still like trying to figure out how to wear it best. This has been my go-to, basically, just kind of wrapping it around my neck as many times as possible. The second finished object that I have is a test knit pattern that I did for Leah Lacoste, and I'm sorry if I butchered that name again, which I probably did because I'm a butcher of names. But this was a sock pattern that I test knit for her. It is called A Toe Then Up Up Up, and it is awesome. And I double checked with her to make sure that I could talk about it on the podcast, and she gave me the go-ahead. So here they are, the finished socks. Oh my gosh, I love them, and this pattern was so much fun to do. If you can see on here, it's got a nice texture on the sock. It's super, super simple, and it's the first pattern sock that I've ever done, and I'm glad that it was this, because this was like, is simple enough that I was able to complete it without kind of burning out halfway through, but also inspiring enough to make me want to try another pattern sock. So I definitely can't wait to like dip my toes even further into patterns for socks and that sort of thing. This was done toe up, which was also daunting for me because I have done another pair of socks that I'd never finished toe up, and you're going to hear a little bit more about that later on in the podcast today. And it was a terrible experience. This, however, was not. This was a wonderful experience. I did these toe up, and I did them one at a time. The sock yarn that I used is super cozy. Is of course the Fiber for the People yarn that I showed on my last podcast. This is Silk Slip, and then the contrasting toe and heel is the color Onyx, also by Fiber for the People. And this knit up so nice. I'm really glad I went with more of like a tonal kind of color, because I think it really showcases the pattern and the texture of the sock even more. It ended up being really fun. I ended up using just like maybe 5.5 grams for both the heel and toe. The heel, I should probably point in the right direction. The heel and the toe, I used maybe 5.5 grams each for each foot, so like 11 grams total. Like I said, it did have like an average size foot. It's about like 7.5 to 8 depending. And this was a fish lips kiss heel, which is fun. It's the first time I've ever done a fish lips kiss heel, and this is probably going to be my new go-to because I enjoyed doing this heel so much. It was so much easier than trying to pick up stitches, which is like not fun, which I struggled with a little bit. These were a lot of fun to make. Can't wait for Leah to release this pattern so that others can also check it out. She's at Wild Handmade on Instagram. The wonderful thing about this was that I definitely did have enough yarn left over for scrappy projects and things. I really enjoyed this experience of test knitting. Hopefully I'll get to test knit some other things soon. We'll see. Okay, so moving on, I am going to talk your ear off about some works in progress that I have. I don't have very many, so I apologize in advance. I would have had another one, but I really wanted to show the yarn that I was going to be using first before getting into that, so that way you guys could see the yarn that I have for that. But I promise as soon as I finish filming this podcast today, I'm going to jump right into starting the What the Fade, and hopefully I'll have another work in progress to show you next time that I film this podcast. Let me talk to you about the first work in progress that I have. It is a pair of socks that I'm making for my boyfriend Kevin. I went into my local yarn store recently, the Yarn Maven in Smyrna, Delaware, and she recently just moved 2 doors down from where she was into a bigger space, and she's still trying to get things together there. But if you are in the area, if you're from Delaware and you're a knitter, you have to check out the Yarn Maven in Smyrna. It is such a cute shop. So I went to the yarn store and I walked out with a ball of Yarn Ditty socks. I wanted to get so much more, but I always run into this issue when I go into a yarn store where I just lose focus because I'm just looking at all the pretty things and I need to touch all the pretty things. And so this is exactly what happened. When I went in there, I just completely lost focus and I couldn't narrow down the different projects that I want to be able to do. So I got just, a ball of Regia Perfect socks, just because I needed kind of like a mindless project to work on. The ball of Regia that I'm working on a pair of socks for my boyfriend, because he always insists that I don't make things for him. I just started this the other day and I've already gotten pretty far because, like I said, I just needed this project to just kind of zone out with, in the mornings especially. So I'm about 60 rows, I think, on the foot part. I'm also doing these toe up because I had such a fun experience doing my test knit socks toe up that I wanted to give it another go. And I'm really just kind of winging it with these socks. I mean, it's just going to be a vanilla sock because of the type of yarn that I'm using. And I'm going to do a fish kiss lips heel again because it was so simple. But I'm trying to adjust everything for obviously a man's foot, which is proving to be not as difficult as I was making it seem in my head. But this is fun. Look, I love how, it just kind of does this pattern automatically, and I think it helps with knitting because as you're knitting it, you just tell yourself, okay, just as soon as I get to the next color, then I'll stop. And then you get to the next color and you're like, well, I'll just get to the next color and then I'll stop. And then you just kind of keep doing that until you've got this much done and you're like, I've just been working on this for an hour. That's awesome. So I'm definitely excited to finish these, and I know my boyfriend's really excited for me to finally finish a project for him. So these have been really simple and a lot of fun. I've been pulling from the center, so now my ball is kind of getting deflated just a little bit. I have one other tiny little work in progress that should have by all means have been finished by now, but I kind of lost steam on it. So on my last podcast, I showed you a sock that I was working on, my Peach Butter Have My Honey sock, and I finished the one, and I haven't started the second pair yet because my mother's been insisting that I need to make my son socks because she finds baby socks to be so cute, I guess, and then she loves the idea of me and Asher having matching socks. But I don't know why. That's just something that she's been begging me for. So I decided to alright, I finished my one sock, I'll just do socks for him really quick because they're small and it shouldn't take long, and then I'll finish my sock and then we'll both have matching socks. Well, I started his sock, and this is how far I've gotten, and then I just stopped. Because it was very difficult to knit this small, I guess. And then also, I don't know if you can tell, I broke my needle. So that has been a bummer, and that's kind of put a halt on Asher's sock. I need to order another pair of these DPNs. I knew this was gonna happen. This is so frustrating. And then you can see my little small fry thing. This is, incredibly frustrating. Who knows when these are going to get finished? Because who knows when I'll remember that I need to order new needles, and I'll just continuously put it off. I have like 3 extra needles, so I can finish these socks. I don't know why I'm just not doing it. It's just, I'm just so frustrated by the broken one. I think that I've lost my knitting inspiration for this sock. How do you guys do it? How do you knit baby socks or toddler socks, and just how do you do it? How? I don't know how. So that's my other work in progress. Like I said, it's not much this week. But after I film, I'm gonna definitely get started on my What the Fade, which I'm a little nervous about because my sister has started, and she said it is a bit tricky, and I've never done brioche before, but I've been watching like all the YouTube videos on it, and I'm still very, very, very nervous about it. We'll see how that goes. The other thing I want to talk to you really quick about is I am trying to sew again. I've sewed a little bit here and there, and I've just recently decided I want to get back into it. And so obviously I want to try and make myself some kind of project bag, and it's been proven to be a little bit more difficult, I think, than I was anticipating. I bought a pattern by Joann, from Joann's by Simplicity, 8037 I guess is the number. So as you can see, it's right here. It's got a bunch of different bags, and I chose the smallest one, which is E on here, to try. I was like, oh, I'll make the smallest bag because I should probably make the least amount of mistakes, and it'll be a perfect size for a pair of socks or something. And so this is what I got, and it's not terrible, but it's not great. Here it is. It's much, much smaller than I was anticipating, which I should have realized when I was cutting out the pieces that this isn't gonna work. I definitely need to try this again, but I'm probably gonna have to pick one of the bigger patterns, I think. What is neat is, though, on the inside I do have some pockets in here, which were really cool. I don't know if you can see those or not. I wish now that it was a little bit bigger, because I feel like for a knitting, for a project bag, pockets like that would come in super handy. There was also supposed to be a drawstring that goes through here, but I think I got so disappointed by the size of this that I kind of didn't do a drawstring. Also, because I was really nervous about trying to do the drawstring with such little, pieces of fabric. I probably should have just bought some kind of drawstring to put through here. The fabric I used was just one of the fat quarters that you can buy, because I was going to invest in some nicer fabric, and thankfully my mom talked me down off of that ledge that maybe I should practice with something first before I invest more money. But I'm gonna give this another go. I think I'm gonna try one of the bigger bags that is offered in this pattern and just kind of alter it to the way that how I want it to go. And I bought, of course, some other like fat quarter fabric. I got like this black and this purple because it reminded me of Halloween, even though it's just like flowers, like a flower pattern on here. The colors, I think, just reminded me of Halloween, and I'm ready for October. But so I'm going to give it another go. I have not given up on sewing yet. Not yet, but I think it's probably going to take the back burner for a little while. We'll see what happens. If you have any sewing patterns that you would recommend for beginners, leave it in the comment. I would really love to hear and to know. I'm a super beginner when it comes to sewing, but I definitely would love to be able to make eventually a garment for myself. So if you have any easy beginner patterns, please send them my way. I would super duper appreciate it. This is going to be a segment now called Tales from the Crypt. And basically what I mean by that, this is projects that I found that I completely forgot about, and I want to show you and explain why I've forgotten about them, and hopefully that'll give me some inspiration to complete them. So earlier, of course, I talked about having a really bad experience trying to do socks toe up. So when I was first, learning how to knit, I decided to go headfirst into knitting a pair of socks. I'm the type of person who, when I decide to do something, I can't just start out easy. I have to do the most difficult thing I can find, in the most difficult way, because it has to be something that I actually like to be able to work on it. So I decided I wanted to do try socks for the first time, and instead of just doing a normal sock cuff down, super basic, I wanted to do toe up, 2 at a time socks straight from the get-go. And this was the result. I have had these socks on these needles easily for 3 years. 3 years. These socks are basically done. And they've been sitting on my needle. There's so much fuzz on them. They've been sitting on these needles for 3 years probably more than that. I don't know, I'm gonna have to look back on Instagram and see when was the first time that I've actually showed these. So I had the worst experience trying to make these socks, because I think the yarn that I chose for doing socks for the first time was a poor choice. I still have the receipt, which is crazy. It says Mini Mochi, and the color Seafoam. So yeah, I had a pretty terrible experience with this because I lost stitch count in doing these so many times, and the yarn was really bad about pilling, which I think as a beginner knitter, especially a beginner sock knitter, was incredibly frustrating, to the point that I just stopped working on it. As you can tell from the size of the sock, it just looks like a hot mess. What were you doing? What was I doing? These look crazy. They really do. And what's even more crazy is that I'm this far on them and they're still on the needles. There is a ribbing started and obviously not finished because I gave up. So maybe I can get these off the needles this week, and it'll be a finished object by next podcast. This has been my tale from the crypt. This color is kind of dope though. I like how it fades from this like minty blue green almost into this like darker green and blue. It's a pretty sweet fade. It's too bad that it sucks knitting. I gotta finish these. I want to finish these mostly because they're almost done, and also because I just really want to use these needles for something else. And I'm so close to being done. I can't justify frogging all of this. Also because I would almost never use this yarn again. This is, in hindsight, was probably not the best choice of yarn to use for this project. Really quick, I have one stash enhancement to show off. I did purchase the August colorway by Long Dog Yarns. I chose the Fig Mini to go with it to make socks. And man, this is the first time I've gotten Long Dog Yarn, and it is beautiful. Also, all of my favorite colors. I love all the colors though, so you know I can't really say. Lots of like fluorescent greens and pinks, and it's just a soft pinky purple, and I might actually do that test knit pattern with this again, because this is so nice. It is on her, I guess, her regular sock base. It's 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon, 463 yards. The mini is 20 grams. It's an 80-20 though. The Fig colorway is awesome. This is a very, very pretty color. I want my like hair to be this color. Nice like a deep, deep wine, purple, red, like a wine. It's a very wine color. Red to me, purple, red. It's beautiful. Can't wait to skein this up. Yeah, it's gonna be really nice. Alright, now moving on to my little yarn dyeing journey here. Here is the yarn that I dyed for the Andrea Mowry What the Fade. And it's great. So my sister had the brilliant idea that she was going to dye her own yarn for her fade, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll do that too, because we, you know, just copy each other, because I guess, you know, that's what younger sisters are supposed to do, right? And so I decided to dye my own colors for my fade, and I could not be more happier with how this turned out. Let me go ahead and show you each of my colors. They don't all have names yet, because I'm terrible at picking out names. They have potential names, some of them do, and some of them don't. So if you have any recommendations or ideas for names for any of these colors that you see here on the podcast, leave me a comment and let me know which ones you like, and maybe that'll be the new name of the color, so who knows. So I'm gonna get started showing you the colors. So this is this dark green. This one was really fun. So when I was dyeing this one up, the black is super tricky, the black dye. You have to use very, very little to get the speckles, and I didn't. So I was a little bit heavy-handed with the black dye again for the second time, and I got a happy mistake. I was super disappointed, like looking at the dye pot, like seeing all the black just kind of ooze everywhere, and I was like, no, that's not what I wanted. And then it dried, and then I was like, oh my god, this is beautiful. So this is this color. My sister has called dibs basically on this color, the name of the colorway, which she thought should be called Paratrooper. And so I'm just going to one-up her and call it Super Duper Paratrooper, because that's what my sister is. She is in the Army, and she's airborne, and she's a paratrooper, and she's a Super Duper Paratrooper, and that is the name of this color. The next color I have for my fade is this one, and this might actually be my like all-time favorite so far. They're all my all-time favorites though. This doesn't have a name yet, which is a bummer because the color is so fantastic. It's a much more muted green, Still bright, I think, but the colors are much more muted and softer than in the previous skein. My boyfriend is a big fan of Rick and Morty, and he was telling me that this should be called Pickle Rick. I don't think it should be called Pickle Rick, though. It kind of just reminds me of a mojito. So maybe it'll be mojito. I don't know. But if you have an idea for this colorway, just leave me a comment down below what you think this should be called, and maybe I will go with that. But this is lovely. I love this color. I love bright greens. I'm obsessed with bright greens. It's crazy. There is some speckling throughout it. But yeah, this is super fun. Alright, the next color I have is also one of my favorites. Can they just all be my favorite? So that's this one here. And this is mostly speckles, and the speckles just kind of got out of control because I'm just out of control when it comes to speckling. But there is bright green and pink and black, and it gives it such an awesome effect. And I can't even think of a good name for this, so if you have an idea, definitely let me know. It kind of just reminds me of candy. I don't know what kind of candy. Maybe like Smarties. But I don't know that I would want to name this Smarties. So if you have a color name in mind, like I said, leave me a comment. Well, this one's great because I love all the different variations and shades of color throughout it. I think that's what's so fun about speckles, is that you get such an awesome effect with it. The black was a little bit more under control with this skein than with my first one. I didn't go overboard with the black. I didn't just like let the black fall in like I did with the first one. But hey, it was a happy mistake, which I feel like that's how I feel about most of these yarns. I did go a little bit overboard with the speckles, and when I was making it, I was just kind of like disappointed, like, what was I doing? What was I thinking? This was too much. And then it dried, and then I loved it, which I feel like has been my experience with basically all the yarns that I dye, is that like I have a panic attack as I'm dyeing it, thinking this will never work. And then it dries, and I'm like, this is beautiful. This worked. Okay. The next one is the pink one, which is great, which is fun. So the pink one, this one is called Bubblegum Babe, which I'm not like 100% sold on. Soft pinks, dark pinks, and black speckling throughout it, because it looks like Bubblegum Babe. The inspiration I had for this yarn was from a comic that I like called Motor Crush. If anyone reads that, like I said, I am in the previous podcast, I am a pretty big nerd, and I do read comics. That was my inspiration for this one. So maybe I'll call this Motor Crush. But I also like Bubblegum Babe. What do you like? Motor Crush, Bubblegum Babe, or something different? I'm super easy to persuade, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Probably not a good thing if I'm easily persuadable. Let me know what you think this colorway should be named. The next one I have is also an experiment in speckling. Lots of yellow speckles, and the yellow just kind of, took over, which is fun, which is also kind of what I wanted. There's some pink speckles and a drop or two of the green in there. This one's fun. This one reminds me of like Gobstoppers. Or like, this one actually reminds me more of Smarties, I think, than the other one. The other one was probably better pick for a Gobstopper. I don't have a name for this, obviously, but if you have one, let me know. I would super appreciate that. And this last one is more of a tonal color. This is the yellow, the bright yellow that I have for my shawl. And this one has definitely got to be called like Lemonhead, because just look at it. It reminds me of a lemon head. And what I'm going to do now is actually take a quick break to wind these up, and I'm going to show you them as cakes. Because I think the yarns just have this way of changing from the skein to cake, which I think is awesome and beautiful, and I want to show you guys just how cool that looks. So give me a moment and I'll be back with cake. Okay, so that took a little bit longer than expected because of course I was trying to go fast, so something had to go wrong because that's just how life works sometimes. So let me show you what the yarns look like as cakes. So here is that first one. This is Super Duper Paratrooper as a cake. Here is the unnamed yarn, but the other bright green one looks like a cool cucumber, so maybe that. Pickle Rick, who knows. Here is my mishap yarn that I got a little bit too excited and went a little bit too fast and it flew off, so of course I had to wind the rest of it up by hand, and then my son, who is awake from his nap, wanted to play with the ball winder, and it got stuck inside, so I had to rip it, and I wanted to cry. It was pretty upsetting, but it's okay. All is well. It was all fixed, and now it just looks like the oddball out. Next one is Bubblegum Babe, or Motor Crush, or yet to be announced. There's the pink one. Here's the other yet to be unnamed one with the yellow speckling. Looks like a Smartie. And here is Lemonhead, the super bright yellow one, which I love. Ugh. No! So here are all my cakes. I can't wait to get started on this shawl tonight. I'm super excited to try and catch up. So this has been really fun, and thank you so much for choosing to tune in with me again. I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate anyone who watches this. If you do like this video, be sure to subscribe or like or give me the thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below and let me know how I did. Hopefully I'll be back again in 2 weeks to talk to you soon, and you'll see a little bit more progress from me. But until then, have a happy crafty week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.